Good afternoon, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks Major League Baseball update. Great to have you all with us today. Whether you're watching us live, if you're watching us live, we always encourage you to comment, bring up topics, discussion. Last week, we barely got anything we wanted to talk about. We just followed the comments in the room, and that's what I like to do on all my shows. And we welcome everybody on Let's Talk Sports as well today. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We're going to be expanding our Twitter presence a little bit with the help of Dan Harris from Let's Talk Sports. And just a quick announcement, we're not going to have a Let's Talk New York Sports segment at 5 o'clock today. Dan's feeling a little under the weather, and I'm going to take this opportunity to rest up a little bit myself as I've had a hectic 3 weeks, work-wise, personally-wise. So we're going to rest up a little bit, and we'll be back Sunday morning with the Stream of Consciousness show. Please watch the Dick Drago interview, the latest one-on-one with Keith Engle on TGI Sports Talk and Let's Talk Sports. And lots of big news coming up with the Let's Talk Sports crowd. So please check that out. Baseball. You know, I've had to catch myself up here because hello, Rick Sherlock. Good to have you with us today. I've had to catch myself up because it's been a busy week, man. A busy month, man. Traveling. 2 out of the last 3 weeks away, 3 days a week for work. And then this week in the office with workshops, 4 days, well, 3.5 days. Basically leaving the house at 7 and getting home at like 10 o'clock at night. And today I'm tired, but now I'm off today. I took today off. I'm off until Wednesday. So we'll get rested up and we'll catch up together on Major League Baseball and everything going on within it today. We'll see who's hot. You know who's hot. The Astros are hot. We'll get into all of it deeper. The Astros are pretty hot. The Orioles and Yankees, even though the Orioles just took 2 out of 3, they're both pretty hot. The White Sox getting back in the race. The Astros, as I mentioned, a little emotional bump, if not a numbers bump from Altuve. Somebody else was hot here. The Giants, 8-2. And who's cold? The A's, 8 in a row down again. The A's with 10 wins, guys. It's going to be Memorial Day. 10 wins. Just a sad situation in Oakland, man. And they're going to vote. I believe, if I saw this correctly, I think the owners are going to vote in June on the A's proposed move to Vegas. I don't know how they don't let them move. I mean, I'm not for rewarding this owner, but, you know, Oakland just doesn't deserve the team. You know, the politicians, the fans, nobody. Sorry, I know the fans have had it tough for 30 years. 30 years. What am I talking about? 60 years there. Not quite 60, 55. But, you know, you got to support the team, guys. I know the stadium sucks. It's a football facility. They were going to have a new stadium for years, but the fans didn't support them. The ownership is not supporting the fans. So it's sad. It's going to happen, though. Sorry. What else has been going on? The Mets. We'll talk about the Mets. And I told you, I believe on the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, maybe on this show, that when we talked again, Gary Sanchez would not be part of the New York Mets, and he was designated for assignment yesterday. Yankees calling up a rookie pitcher to pitch tonight. Still a little thin in the pitching corps. Clark Schmidt didn't pitch bad yesterday. He's pitched much better of late after a really rocky start. I like Clark Schmidt a lot, and he might be somebody the Yankees need to count on. Severino had a good debut last Sunday. He'll be pitching again tomorrow, I think. We'll check that out in a little bit. And rumors that Carlos Rondon will actually throw the baseball. We'll see. What else? The Jays met as a team to... I told you guys, John Schneider would be the first manager fired. I think I said it on our preview show. Blue Jays have fallen to last place, only a game over 500, 10.5 out of first. Donnie Baseball might be managing his team very soon. Keep an eye out. So, you know, it's fine to tell your team we got to get better, but Time to start playing. This team hasn't been the same to me since they lost. They blew that the wild card series. I think with an 8. It was an 8 or a 9-0 lead in the deciding game. What else? The Mets, and I want to comment too on the Mets. We'll get into this maybe a little bit more. They were all worried about. Hello, Drew. Good to have you with us. They're all worried about Marcus Stroman's histrionics on the mound the other night. You know what? Listen, I'm not much for hot dogging, whatever you want to call it, But, Buck Showalter said it best. Play better. If you don't want a pitcher out there pumping his chest and doing everything else, start hitting line drives back through the box and play better, and it'll stop. Quit your whining and crying. Jesus. Did I say about the All-Star game? Good, I got a little time then, because I thought I said Memorial Day. Thank you, Drew. Good to have you with us, Drew. Drew Ehrlich, our local baseball savant, if you will. Really disappointed, man. I was making some really positive strides up the standings in our fantasy league, and last week just tore my heart out. I don't know what I was, 2-18 or some freaking awful score. Oh, I made positive progress after burying myself early in the season. Just absolutely atrocious week last week. And it happened it was going well for the last 3 days of the week. Anyway, let's get into some baseball, shall we? Let's get around the standings. We might look at some grades. I saw the Athletic had some grades. We might look at that and maybe give our own grades early on here. Memorial Day, remember, is traditionally the place where we find out or we decide whether teams are for real or not. General managers make decisions on their teams, whether they'll be buyers or sellers. Well, there's going to be a lot of buyers this year. The third wild card just throws all of that out, out the window. Who's selling. Some teams sell, but aren't really like giving up on the season. They'll sell to improve themselves down the road, but also looking to continue to win. The Orioles did it last year. The Yankees did it. If you remember the year they brought up Judge and Sanchez and that crew. Can lose it all in one day with pitchers imploding and hitters leave, right? Oh my God. Lost it over 2 days. I was about to have, I'd had quite a few consecutive weeks in a row with positive results and really eaten into my deficit, and it just went berserk. Anyway, whatever. It is what it is. I hope to have your suffering continue. Well, that's just rude, Rick. You shouldn't treat your host like that. Where do I stand right now? 8-10 over Richard's reasonable. What's the rest of your team name here? How come I can't see the whole team name? Richard's reasonable team in first place. Congratulations. As we hit Memorial Day, you might want to think about whether you're going to be a buyer or seller. It's a lot of fun, though. I know he is. Oh, I know. Still a little rude to treat your host that way. Just kidding. American League East. Rays stay up on top. 114 run differential. Very good. Plus, obviously, they won a couple in a row. 6-4 in their last 10. They continue to lead the East, but only by 3 over the Orioles. The Orioles playing Allen's Texas Rangers this weekend. It'll be an interesting matchup for sure. We'll get into those in a little bit. The Orioles continue playing good baseball. 7-3 in the last 10. Listen, I've said this before. This is a year straight now. I think last year this time they were in the midst maybe of their 12-game winning streak that was correcting a miserable start for this team. And it's not a fluke when you're playing this way for 162 games, right? Or close to it. The Red Sox lost 4 in a row now, 4-6. I think things are I think things are turning for a lot of these teams. As I said, we reached the Memorial Day, which is kind of the point where, if teams are still playing well, then maybe they're for real, but they start to show their true colors, and you can say, well, told you so. I think the Red Sox are one of them. Obviously, the Pirates are one of them. We'll talk about some others as we go forward here. But the Blue Jays are the real disappointing team in this division now. 10.5 games out, as I said. 2-8 in their last 10. Schneider calling. Listen, whenever you have a meeting in the locker room with a manager, I think it's not good. Donnie Baseball. Drew said it. I believe it's funny. I bought a little time because I thought it had to happen by Memorial Day. And I may have said Memorial Day somewhere else, but I did say he'd be the first manager fired. We'll see. Could be true, but it's going to be hard for some of these other managers to continue the way we're going as well. The Central battle of attrition here. The Twins, who we both picked to win here this division, I think, Drew, but I wouldn't pick the Tigers to be 2 games behind, and the Guardians to be in third, and the White Sox to be 10 games under 500, but still only 6 games out of first. 7-3 in their last 10, starting to play a little better ball. Royals a bit of Royals. Tigers a bit of a surprise for sure. 2 games under, playing pretty good baseball. The Royals, look at. I mean, this is one of the things. This is why please, you can't be expanding, Rob Manfred. Please take that off the table and be quiet about it. There's not enough good baseball players to go around now. Teams like the Royals have to wait 2 decades. Every 2 decades, they can have a good team. The Tigers. The Rangers. Not enough good players to go around. Rick's playing. Oh, I thought that was a new one. You playing me again, Rick? Everybody wants a piece of me. I got to tell you, we took after our week of workshops this week. We took my team, my sales team, and my boss, and part of our retention team was with us as well. And we had a team building fun night out with pizza and wings and some beer and some bowling up to Kingpin Alleys in Latham. And I haven't bowled in 4 years, and it showed last night. I didn't bowl terrible, but my whole left side is killing me. My body will not take it. You think bowling's easy, guys? It's not. Back in the day, 3 nights a week, retired for 17 years, came out of retirement to bowl in a mixed league with my wife. Bowled for 3 years. I didn't like it. I really got tired of bowling. That's why I quit. And I'm too competitive at everything. I have to win. I can't have fun. I can't go play golf to have fun. I can't bowl to have fun. I have to if I'm not doing extremely well, I'm not happy. And it's unreasonable to think you can do as well at whether it's golf or bowling or baseball, which, by the way, I can still play if I had to. Go to the cages once a year at least. I got a better stroke left-handed now than I do right-handed. But anyway, you can't expect to be as good as you were when you were doing it all the time. There was a time I played golf 5 days a week. You can't expect to do that well. All right, this isn't the Sunday Stream of Consciousness. I'm all off topic here. Let's see what we got going on. Scott Kobe. Sorry about your Red Sox if you've heard my comments earlier about them riding the course the wrong way. Allen's Rangers are very surprising. I keep waiting for them to fall, and they're 7-3 in their last 10 every time I look up. Leading that division by 3. The Astros aren't playing bad baseball either with Altuve back. and at least they've gotten an emotional lift from him. Maybe not that much on the in the numbers so far, but a great emotional lift. But as I said, we're approaching that Memorial Day marker, and the Rangers are still there. Pitching, I still think, will be their downfall. We know DeGrom has been throwing, getting ready to come back for his next injury. So we'll see how that goes. But kudos so far, Alan. I told Alan tune in today. We'd talk more Texas Rangers, but it doesn't appear that he's here, at least yet. The Angels, still 5 games over 500. They're playing well, 4 wins in a row. They don't want to go away. And by the way, Ohtani's not the same pitcher. Trout's not the same hitter. But this team is playing better baseball. So they're doing something right there. And the Mariners have won 4 in a row, finally pushing past that 500 mark. 5.5 games out of first. I still will call Astros and Seattle first and second in this division. And the A's, they may get relegated. I think this should be like Major League Soccer. Or not Major League Soccer, Premier League Soccer. And you get relegated if you don't meet a certain standard. This team is minus, guys, 50 games. 52 games. Minus 184 runs. What is that? They're averaging getting beat by 3.5 runs a game. You don't get any worse than that. I can't do the math. I need my calculator. Maybe Drew's done it for me already. Tampa Bay is second in average, first in OB. You gave me more numbers than you did Sunday on this team. I think Drew's fallen in love with the Rays. I got to look at their schedule again because you know how I like to kind of pick apart who they played. Number 2 in average, number 1 in on base percentage. And I love on base percentage, by the way, guys. Very important stat. I know the analytic geeks love it as well, but it's the one stat that they pay attention to that actually matters. Slugging, ERA, WHIP. If you have numbers like this, you're going to. Let's go back to the Rays a bit since Drew brought them up, and I felt the need to pick apart their schedule. Since I talked to them last week, and I think they had not won a series, maybe one series against a winning team. They did beat the Brewers 2 out of 3, and they beat the Blue Jays 3 out of 4. Say what you want about the Central. The Brewers are leading it, and they're over 500. So now they're playing better baseball against better teams. The Blue Jays, as I said, one of the biggest disappointments in baseball, but you beat a team with theoretically more talent than you, 3 out of 4, you did well. And maybe, given Drew's comment here, maybe my comment is unwarranted. Maybe they don't have better talent. I didn't get this music all the way off, did I? That's all right. Oh, I love when you guys comment. It makes the show. My shows go so easy when you guys are here. Mini golf is the way to go. I stole my wife, I think, $1.4 million from our last mini golf escapade. She beat me. If you're that competitive, your fantasy baseball success. Oh, it's been, believe me, you have no idea. You have no idea. It's one of my huge character flaws is that I can't just enjoy things. I have to win everything. The granddaughter better be careful when we start playing Candyland or whatever those kids' games are. Get your money out, little girl. Oh, thank you for doing the math for me. So they maintained it. Looked like it should be worse, Drew, since they'd gone. Oh, I thought I spilled my drink. Where's their lost their record here? Hold on. What did they do since we chatted last? 1-9 again. Lost 8 in a row. I would have thought they'd be there. They might have fallen below that 30-win pace. You can't be any worse than this. That's 31 and 131, guys. If you don't know, that's 11 games worse than the all-time record. So that's not just beating the record, that's annihilating it. I don't know, maybe Vegas doesn't want this team. Bring new ownership with it. That's all I can tell you. Drew's always been in love with the Rays. They keep winning without a payroll and constant loss of players. Listen, they do it better than anybody. My biggest problem, like a lot of teams, and for all their success, similar to the A's, when the A's played, Billy Ball, what do we call it? Moneyball. Billy Ball's a long time ago. Moneyball. It doesn't get you the ultimate prize, though. They have yet to win the ultimate prize. And part of it, I'm going to tell you right now, is because of the thing I preach all the time. And you can tell me I'm wrong, and I will tell you forever you're the one that's wrong. When you're sitting there and and Kevin Cash does this just like Aaron Boone, and you're looking through your book and your analytics and how this lefty does against this righty on Wednesdays at 3:00 with an overcast, and you have no gut feel for the game, then the game gets away from you. You saw it with the Rays a few years ago when they took Snell out pitching really well. He was their ace at the time in the World Series. You saw it with Aaron Boone this year with Harmonic. You see it with Aaron Boone every freaking night. Kevin Cash also has got very thin skin. Him and the Yankees have gone at it more than once. Forever will love CC Sabathia for sticking up for his team. Kevin Cash is a great manager, don't get me wrong. But I don't like him even a little bit. So anyway, you look at, if you don't, me, I listen, I don't root for anybody except my team. And I know everybody does things differently, right? So I'm never going to love the Rays. I'm never going to love any other team but my team. There's stories I love. I like it if my team's out of contention, I might root for an underdog. There's been times I've rooted for the Rays in the playoffs because, they were playing the Dodgers or the Red Sox or whoever. Teams that I hated more than them. But I've come to get a pretty good distaste for the Rays because of Kevin Cash in a lot of ways. Yeah, we did talk about this, Scott. Toronto had a team meeting after yesterday's game, and that's never good. And as Drew and I were kibitzing back and forth here earlier, I did predict during our preseason preview that Brian Schneider would be the first manager fired this year and replaced by one Donnie Baseball, who I still don't believe Brian Schneider was necessarily in favor of bringing in there. Kevin Cash is, listen, I will say this. I could only wish Kevin Cash would mention TGI Sports Talk because the only bad publicity is no publicity. Oh, God. Listen, he's done a great job there, as you said, Drew. Listen, management, whether it's the manager, the GM, player development, they've done a good job. Now they're taking a different route, too. Well, even this doesn't mean they're going to stay. Like Wander Franco, they wrap up to a team-friendly long-term deal, hopefully without buyouts. I'm all for wrapping up these guys. I talked about it on the Mac and Jack show here a couple of weeks ago. Jack Hirsch was talking about the trend towards teams wrapping up their young players with long-term deals, like Tatis with the San Diego, Wander Franco. There's a bunch of others, and nobody's coming to my mind right away. But there are a lot of these team-friendly. and player friendly because you're getting security signing a 10 or 12-year contract. And I know Tatis isn't for chump money, but that I guarantee you that contract will be obsolete. It's becoming close to obsolete now. You can't give them the opportunity to renegotiate that contract. You can't give them options after 3 years, 4 years, whatever. You can have the security of a 10-year deal and hundreds of millions of dollars, most likely, or 100 anyway. Or you can sign shorter term contracts for more money. You should not be able to get it both ways. And until Major League Baseball gets a handle on that, the salaries will never get under control and the play will not be as good. Skip over to the National League. The Braves continue to lead the East. Mets have played a little better baseball, 6-4 in their last 10, and to move within 5.5 games of first into second place. Ahead of the Marlins, who are up and down, 5-5 their last 10. This time last week, I believe they were 2 games over 500. They're now a game under. The Phillies cannot figure it out. There's something wrong. There's something missing with this team. Trey Turner getting booed. Now, I'll give Trey Turner credit. Trey Turner has taken it like a man and said, I'd boo me too. In fact, I don't know if this is even accurate, but we were talking about this morning on Mac and Jack again, that his mother was booing him. And Trey Turner has taken, at least he's shouldering his responsibility. He knows he's played like horse crap and he needs to play better. And my boy, Rob Thompson has got to get it together. Got to get this team back on track. Now, no reason to panic because this National League, it's going to be a pretty tight race for these wild card races. It's pretty mediocre. Beyond the top teams, the Braves, I'll still count the Mets there, the Dodgers, and the Padres, who are playing terrible. I mean, everybody else is mediocre. Diamondbacks may be the third best team in the league, the National League. The Braves have also done it right. Listen, the Braves are unique. You look at their depth chart for a second. The Braves have done a lot of homegrown talent. Their pitching staff, outside of Charlie Morton, I believe is all homegrown. They're starters. Most of their bullpen, Colin McHugh, I don't believe is. Chavez isn't. But, oh, by the way, AJ Minter is horrendous. This team's winning with this guy imploding all over the freaking place. Iglesias is not a homegrown. Murphy's brought in. So's Denard. Matt Olson. Obleys, I believe, was homegrown. Austin Riley, certainly homegrown. Harris, Acuna. The weak spot on this team is Ozuna to me. And maybe the back end of this rotation. They've had some injuries. But to me, the Braves are still the most complete team in the National League, as I've said since the beginning of the year. Maybe I'll change that tune. Maybe I'll turn it to the Dodgers because the Dodgers keep playing decent baseball. Lindor contract was abominable boondoggle for the Mets. Well, that certainly was not a team-friendly deal to a young player. Especially when you've got, other guys that you've got to keep happy. The good thing for the Mets is it doesn't matter. It's like play money to these to Steve Cohen. So there's nothing to lose by overpaying for guys. There's nothing. You can take a chance on 2 40-year-old pitchers been paying $40 million a year because if it doesn't work out, who cares? Just pay them and they go away. Which is why I would not be surprised to see this team really, if they can find sellers, really looking to improve a couple of positions here. Maybe catcher. As I said, Gary Sanchez did not last a week with the Mets. Was there any doubt? I know Scherzer said some nice things about him after his first start. I watched part of that game. And Gary Sanchez, as always, was all over the place. You wonder whether he was even going to catch the ball half the time. I'm probably exaggerating. But I watched it for years with the Mets, or the Yankees. It wasn't so much his bat. His bat was bad enough. It was the way he handled pitchers. He can't frame pitches. He doesn't call a good game. And he makes pitchers look wild because he's chasing after balls like, they're getting by him and they're throwing right to him. I think Gary Sanchez may be headed to Japan or someplace if he wants to continue his baseball career. He's been in the last little more than a year, he's been with 4 teams: the Yankees, the Twins, the Giants, and the Mets now. Yes. You're talking about the Braves again, Scott. I agree. Listen, it's a smart move as long as you're not giving them the option to get out of it as well, because this is what happened. This has happened more than once where these guys sign these long-term deals and then, in 2 years they want out, or they give them opt-outs after 2 or 3 years because they know the deal's going to be obsolete. Anyway. Phillies are missing a number one ace. Nola is not that type of pitcher. Nola and Wheeler are good 2 and 3s. You're right. They need a stud. They need a Garrett Cole, who maybe isn't pitching well right now, but is one of the best pitchers in baseball and has been for a while. They need that type of pitcher. Aaron Nola never's been that guy. Pitched well last year, but I don't think he pitched that well in the postseason, if I remember. That hurts the Phillies a lot, without a doubt. Where else was I? Where was I? East still? National. But by the way, Nationals hanging in there, 21 and 29. The Central. What is it with the Central in both leagues? Pirates finally don't have a 1-9 record in their last 10. They're 4-6. But they've fallen to 1 game over 500. I said before, this team will still probably lose 90 games. It's not that good. It's just not that good. Rich Hill, again, who graduated a year behind me in high school, can't be one of your top starters. They don't have enough offense. They don't have enough pitching. The Brewers, I don't know. Craig Counsell's a great manager. This should be more than a game and a half ahead in this division, the way this division is played out. The way this division is played out, the Cardinals, with the atrocious a start as they had, are only 5 games out of first. Playing the best baseball in the division. The Cubs, this awful experiment of I don't know where they built. Who was building this team? What were they drinking? The only off-season acquisition that made any sense, and it didn't make sense for him, is Dansby Swanson. That's up. Kyle Hendricks is back. Not saving the day, Cubs fans. And the Reds are 21 and 29. David Bell. I guess David Bell's done as well as he could be expected. I mean, early on, he had a couple of teams that made the playoffs. I think during COVID, he made the playoffs, maybe one other year. But management, you can't manage with one hand tied behind your back, and that's what a lot of these guys are doing with management, just handcuffing them, trading the limited amount of talent they have, and they're trading guys away, right and left. On these small market teams, the Red, again, it's except for Tampa, and I don't know that I would call Tampa small market. Tampa's not staying in Tampa, by the way. They're gonna move that team. It's only a matter of time. Fans, you got to support your teams. I understand it's an atrocious building, But you have to support your teams or the teams won't be there. Ask the Expos, who are now the Nationals. Right? Who else has moved most recently? Thought we had another team that moved recently. Why am I not? Guess not. Nah, I guess not. So please don't. And by the way, don't expand, Mr. Manfred. Hate the word you use the word commissioner. There's not enough talent to be expanding. You could contract teams and you'd be better. What do we got here? Drew Sanchez didn't stick because he was simply insurance for their two injured starters. Nito back. Well, he didn't stick. He was never going to stick. They only brought him up because, as you said, they needed depth for a weekend. His contract said if they didn't bring him up by that day, last Friday, they had to release him. So they hope for the best. Gary Sanchez is not going to help any Major League Baseball team. Anybody thinks I'm wrong? Enjoy. Navarro's probably going to get hurt again, by the way. And by the way, Alvarez is playing pretty good. Defensively, I have not seen that much of him. He's hitting the ball very well. He's played pretty good baseball of late. And he may get his shot. If I'm Buck, this team needs a jolt. Nito's a nice defensive catcher. Not giving him a jolt. Navarro's, okay, decent Major League Baseball player. Not giving him a jolt. Play Alvarez. You cannot have this kid up here sitting on the bench. Either play him or send him back to the minors. He's playing good enough with the bat. I have not heard any major rumblings that his defense is suspect enough to warrant not playing. Now, again, when you got aces like Verlander and Scherzer, those guys don't like to throw to kids a lot. So that could be a problem, right? And you might see more Nito because of that. Swanson is the Cubs equivalent of Bryant in Colorado. It's a good point. It's ironic, isn't it? What a waste of talent. Well, at least Swanson's been able to play, though. Bryant barely played last year. Why would you do that? If you're, I just talked about my competitiveness, and believe me, I certainly don't have Major League Baseball talent. But when I played, and I played until I was 35, I played semi-pro baseball until I was 35, and then I enjoyed the hell out of it. But I only knew one way to play. I wanted to win all the time. Now, would I like to have made money? Yes, but don't these guys have any pride at all? When there's this much money involved, you can't take a little bit less and go somewhere where you could make some more, make nearly the money and still very good money no matter how you look at it and have a chance to actually win and be competitive. But you take all this money and you go to Colorado. Makes me wonder whether I want Chris Bryant on my team. When he becomes available, if he ever gets healthy enough to be traded, I wouldn't know if I want him. Let me go out here and earn my money in anonymity, and I don't know if we win, great. If we don't, I want guys with a burning desire to win. I did. I played for nothing. I'd go play for nothing now. Well, maybe not nothing, but you know what I mean. The Reds are smoking the Cubs today. It's funny. Every time we are on to have this show, we have a we have a day game. Weren't these the same two teams playing last week? At home, losing 6-0 to the Reds. That's a good question. I like David Ross. I know the Cubs like David Ross. The organization likes him a lot. I think he's a really smart guy and a good baseball man. He didn't put this team together. I'm not blaming the manager for this mess. How do I blame the manager for bringing in Cody Bellinger, for bringing in the first baseman? Who else first baseman? Come on, Keith, get your brain in gear. He's not even on a roster anymore, so I can't tell you who it is. He was a good ball player. He's not anymore. One of you guys are going to give me the name. I'm not the guy who brought in Yan Gomes. I'm sorry, David Ross is not the guy who brought in David. Oh, any of these guys. Mark Leiter Jr. is your closer, guys. James Tyon is your second pitcher. Second starting pitcher. Marcus Stroman is your starter. And by the way, I hate those histrionics, but as I said before, as Buck said, you know what, Mets? Don't get all upset and scream and yell at a guy for showing you up. Go knock him off the frickin' mound. Play better. The only guy I like on his team, the only guys I like on this entire team, I like Ian Happ a lot. And I do hope Ian Happ is available at the trading deadline again, and I hope the Yankees go after him. Good fit for the Yankees. I like Swanson a lot. I don't like the rest of this team. We'll find out whether Matt Mervis can play. Horner's supposed to be a good player eventually. But I'm not firing David Ross for this mess. This is the GM. In my mind. Steele's entitled to a bad game. He's been very good so far. All right. Fair enough. I still think this team's just horrendously put together. Horrendously. So, no, I'm not firing David Ross. Hosmer, thank you. Eric Hosmer. Who didn't know Eric Hosmer couldn't play anymore other than the Cubs? The Padres had to beg the Nationals to take him. Or tried to beg the Nationals to take him. I'm sorry. Tried. Last year in the Soto trade. Eric Hosmer. Horner is pretty good. He's not too bad. I think I included him at the bottom of my list. Still not sure how good he's going to be. Ian Happ's a guy I like on his team a lot. I want to see him at pinstripes. Listen, I hope that one of my other arch nemesis besides nemesis. What's the plural of nemesis? Is it nemesises? Nemesis? Never mind. Brian Cashman, who also probably refuses to listen to my show. Him and his marionette, Mr. Boone. Listen to me this time and go get Ian Happ, like I said last year. And if you'd done that, we might have been more competitive in the ALCS last year. Just saying. Where did we leave off? The West. The Dodgers, 5-5 in their last 10, still leading the division by a game and a half. The Diamondbacks won't go away. 7-3. 8 games over 500, a game and a half out of first. 4 games ahead of the Giants. 6 games ahead of the horrendous Padres. Padres, Cardinals, White Sox and the Blue Jays. Biggest disappointments in baseball. Giants playing a little bit better, 8-2 in their last 10. They get to 500. Couple games ahead of the Padres. The team chemistry, and Manny's on the DL now. I said team chemistry was going to be an issue there. Whether that's the issue or not, I don't know what it is. The talent's there. The pitching hasn't been as good as they expected. I would think the manager's safe here. I would think. But it's tough, man. You get to Memorial Day, 4 or 5 games under 500 with a talent like on this roster. Even well-respected managers like Melvin get fired. Be careful. I don't know. Suzuki just picked him up to beat me. You know, I've toyed with picking him up a few times this year. I might have even picked him up for a couple of days. I don't remember. I think I might have picked him up for a game or two here or there. I've just never been a big fan of this guy. Let me see. What's he doing? Let's take a quick look, shall we? Where are you, Mr. Suzuki? 6 homers, 19 RBIs. 887 OPS. That's not bad. Slugging is up over 500 now. His on-base percentage is really good, 383. All right. I'll give you Suzuki. But the rest of this team, I do like Horner, by the way. But Hap's my guy. If I'm taking one guy off this team, you know, Patrick Wisdom has probably done what they expected. Good pop, no batting average at all. Trey Mancini, nice story, but he's done, guys. He's probably done. Maybe it needs to be a bench player. Yan Gomes, I kind of ridiculed. He's hitting 290. He's not going to hit 290, by the way, when the season's over. You saw Hosmer already gone. What's Mervis doing since they brought him up? Let's see. Only 211. Couple homers. Cubs might as well find out about their kids. They're not going anywhere. The problem is the National League, again, is so mediocre, below the top tier teams, that they're all going to think they're in a wild card hunt because they probably are. And nobody's going to sell. Nemesis. Aha. Thank you. I was trying to get there. So another one of my nemesis. We've identified 3 of them today. Kevin Cash, Brian Cashman, and Aaron Boone. What else in the West? Anything else in the West we want to talk about? The Rockies. Look, by the way, since we talked about it, what is Mr. I'll take the money and play for a crappy team doing? Is Brian even playing? He is playing. Okay. 5 homers, 17 RBIs, 274, 740. Mediocre at best. 6 doubles. This team is awful. I mean, Charlie Blackmon's still your best player, and he's 100. Another team's never going to win. That's not a bad hot take, Scott. Drew and I both had them on the rise. I don't think either one of us had them in the playoffs. I don't have our stuff right in front of me today, Drew. I thought, and I'm pretty sure we're on the same page with this. Next year, this team would contend. They could be a year ahead. Let's take a quick look. What time is it? 3:50. We had a few minutes. Let's take a quick look at the Diamondbacks and what they've been doing. They got some really good players. The guy that I hinged my fantasy teams on the last couple of years, Keitel Marte is playing better baseball than he's played in a while. Christian Walker playing good baseball, not much of a batting average, but 11 homers, 34 RBIs. Lourdes Gurriel playing very, very well. Corbin Carroll, one of the top prospects in baseball, 14 stolen bases already to go with 7 homers, 380 on base percentage, 889 OPS. Who else is a bit of a surprise here? And that's with Jake McCarthy, who I liked a lot. I loved a lot. I think as Drew know, I talked him up a lot. He got sent to the minors, I believe. Evan Longoria with 6 home runs on this team, not hitting for much average, not getting a ton of playing time either. But the pitching has been Jack Gallion is going to be one of the best. He's going to be one of the best pitchers in the league. If he's not already. 2.97 ERA, 1.02 whip. Merrill Kelly, who I believe we talked about on the show quite a bit. He's pitched very well. Ryan Nelson. So the kids are pitching well. He's 5.02. Who else stands out here? I mean, they've got a pretty deep staff. And they let Madison Baumgartner go with an ERA over 10. So this team's probably ready to win now. They're a year ahead of where we thought they were, most likely. Yeah, so the Rays and the Royals are going to be the only sellers, and nobody's going to want to buy. Who are you buying off those teams? I'll start with the Royals because we've talked about the A's in the past. Who am I going to buy off this team? Salvador Perez probably is not going to be on the block, but he should be. Witt won't be on the block. Pasquantino, maybe he'll be on the block. Maybe somebody will make an offer there. Who else do you want? Jackie Bradley Jr.? Matt Duffy? Oh, these guys' best years are... Matt Duffy might help a team somewhere. Off the bench. But who do you really want? How about the pitching? You want Zach Greinke? Zach Greinke might get traded. I think he wants to finish his career as a Royal, but he may get traded. Jordan Lyles, my guy, Brady Singer, got rid of him after a couple of starts. I mean, there's not a pitcher on this staff that I would want to trade for. So who's going to help? And I'm not even going into the A's right now. I mean, there'll be some other sellers. Because the trade deadline now has also been teams will make trades, but not just give up on the season. We watched it in Baltimore last year, as I said. We've seen it with the Yankees in the past, quite a few years ago now. We've seen it with the Twins in the past. Come on, mouse. The Dodgers pitching staff, in my opinion, is not very good. Well, it's old, I can tell you. Urias got hurt. Oh, that's the wrong team. Urias got hurt already. Kershaw's, a pitch away from being injured. Did miss some time on the bereavement list as it is. Let's check out the rest of their start. I like Gonsolin. I really do. He's pitching. He's not pitching to his capabilities yet after coming back from an injury. Urias, who knows when he'll be out. You're right. I mean, Noah Syndergaard is their third pitcher right now. Not a good place to be. Noah Syndergaard being your fifth starter, I'd say you got a decent staff. But the bullpen's pretty good. And the offense has been much, much better than I thought they'd be. And they're very versatile. I mean, you can play Mookie Betts now at 3 positions or 4 positions. You can play Muncy at 3 positions. And the National League is just not that good. The Braves, I'll still count the Mets in there. The Braves, the Mets, the Dodgers, and the Padres. Who else is any good? Record says you are. Diamondbacks again on the rise. The rest of these teams... And somebody's got to make the playoffs. So let's just count those teams in. Let's just count. And again, I realize it's not even Memorial Day, but let's just count those teams in. The Mets, the Braves. Somebody's got to win the Central, so I'll give it to the Brewers. And the Dodgers. The Diamondbacks get the second wild card behind the Mets. The rest of these teams are awful. The Marlins, the Phillies, the Pirates, the Cubs. The Cardinals are not terrible, and they are starting to get it back together. The Giants. The Padres should be better than they are. That's why nobody's going to sell. It's so mediocre that every single team in the National League is going to think they got a chance at that third wild card. Every team. Arizona needs to season young pitchers a little bit more. Next year they will be dangerous. Kind of what we said before. Listen, I loved Varsho too. That's another guy to the Yankees I wanted to pick up in the offseason. He's been part of the overall malaise in Toronto. But there's some very, very good players. Ferment. A lot of seasoning and fermenting. What do they have? A barbecue and wine tasting? Just kidding. Uriel trade was a steal because Varsho has not produced yet, for sure. Oh, yeah, but who's going to take him? You want him on the Red Sox, and God bless you, Scott. You take him. I know one thing: the Yankees won't be looking to bring him in because he's a dog. He's a dog. Last year, you look at what he pulled at the end of last year. That's all you need to know about whether he wants to be if he's a good fit on any team that's trying to win and have a really good team chemistry. Do not bring this guy in. He's a cancer and a dog. Was that strong enough? Was I a little passive aggressive there? Dodgers have been hit hard by injuries on their staff and their lineup, by the way. Up to number 7 in whips. So the Dodgers have done very well. And again, everybody gets injuries, and it's next man up. And the team that is better at that is who wins. The Rays. The other team Drew loves. They've had their share of injuries. Pitchers out for the year. Springer's out for the year. McClanahan's been hurt. Not McClanahan. Rasmussen, I think, was hurt for a bit. You just got to overcome these injuries. Dodgers done a really good job of guys stepping up and filling it in. I didn't think you wanted them, Scott. You know what? I'm sorry, Alan. When you watch this, if you guys trade for, if you guys do make that trade for Chapman, somebody will trade for him, Scott. You're not wrong. Because they're going to be enticed by the fact, oh, he's back, he's different, he's changed, whatever. No. Guarantee he has not changed. And I guarantee you he will give up big home runs to right-handers in big spots and wreck your season. Yeah, but they're not going to trade them. That's my point. So the guys that are I don't think they trade Perez. Maybe Perez is somebody that they can trade. I'd have to look at who their free agents are. Again, I'm going to wrap up the show here in a second, but I'll say this now is, we'll be talking trade deadline sooner than later. I said this last year, more teams who have, especially if you're not contending. If you're contending this, you can't do this. If you're a team that's not contending, the Rangers last year are a perfect example with Martin Perez. He was a free agent. They could have traded him at the deadline, got some value for him, and then still gone out and re-signed him, and it wouldn't cost them any more money. That's what teams should be doing in those types of situations. The Yankees did it with Chapman. Not enough teams do it. Again, the situation has to be right. Does Sale strike out 8 guys tonight against Arizona? No. I think Sale gets knocked out in about 3 innings tonight. He did pitch well. He's pitched better recently, I think. Right, Scott? Let's take a quick look at Sale before I wrap it up here. I probably shouldn't have done it. There he is. Chris Sale. Where his ERA on the road is 6. Last 7 days, he pitched well last time out. 8 strikeouts. That's probably where you get the number from, right? I wanted to see his last few games. Where are we? Here we are. He pitched good the time before that. Pitched decent the time before that. Maybe I'm not giving Chris Sale enough credit. His last 4 starts have not been terrible. 8, 9, and 10 strikeouts. All right. Maybe Sale's back to close to where he was. As I said, I've been a little bit out of touch with some of this, so we're learning together. He is starting to come around, and I think he shut down the Padres. He did 8 Ks, 7 innings. He did give up a couple of home runs, but he pitched 8 innings. 8 innings he pitched. That's remarkable. Against St. Louis, his start before he lost, only gave up 1 earned run, struck out 9. He pitched against Philadelphia and struck out 10 in 6 innings, and pitched well against the Guardians, the team formerly known as the Indians, the time before that. So, listen, I wanted to get into the, I know we got to wrap it up here. Let's take a quick look at this weekend's schedules at the big games and tonight's matchups. Cincinnati's at Chicago, so we already talked about. The Cardinals are whipping them in. I'm sorry, the Reds are whipping them in up 6-0 right now. We got the Sox going to Detroit. That's kind of an important Central Division race. The disappointing Lance Lynn against Joey Wentz. The Dodgers will be at Tampa Bay, an interesting matchup there. Syndergaard against Jalen Beeks. San Diego and the Yankees start a series tonight. Joe Musgrave against the today called up Randy Vasquez. Texas and Baltimore, another interesting series, kicks off with John Gray and Grayson Rodriguez. St. Louis is at Cleveland. Two disappointing teams so far this year. Cardinals trying to right their ship. Matthew Liberatore against Shane Bieber. The Phillies will play at Atlanta this weekend. The disappointing Taijuan Walker, not a shock there, against Jared Schuster. The Giants at Milwaukee, Alex Wood and Freddie Peralta. Toronto, locker room meetings. Let's see if this turns into some wins. Because if not, the Brian Schneider watch is going to start. They're going to be at the Twins this weekend. They'll start with Kevin Gausman against Louis Varland. Washington at Kansas City. If you know anybody who needs tickets, I'm sure they'll pay you to take them off their hands. The Mets will go to Colorado. Max Scherzer against Connor Siebold. Miami, still surprising the Miami Marlins against the surprising Angels. Luzardo against Reed Detmers. Luzardo's a really good pitcher, by the way. Boston, as we just talked about, at Arizona. Chris Sale at a 6.0 earned run average on the road against Brandon. No idea. Fat. Help me, Drew. The Astros at Oakland. They'll get fat this weekend. Hunter Brown against James Caprillion. And Pittsburgh at Seattle. Seattle playing much better baseball against Mitch Keller and a revitalized George Kirby. So some good matchups this weekend. Got to go babysit. See you Sunday, Drew. Have a great, great weekend. And we'll see you Sunday morning for sure. We'll see all of you Sunday morning with the Stream of Consciousness. It's been a lot of fun today. As always, updating you and getting your comments on Major League Baseball today. Keith Engle for TGI Sports Talk right here on Let's Talk Sports. You guys have a great weekend. Dan Harris, sure better, buddy. There will be no Let's Talk Sports today, but hopefully we'll be back next Friday. Rick, see you Sunday, buddy. I need to bring my A game. I got to rest. I am so tired. You have no idea. Guys, have a great weekend.